It's Rick here at the Heat Pit. Welcome to another episode of Ballin. We took this time to make a feeding day video for you so that you can see how we go about things. I learned my techniques from a variety of sources, like Justin on YouTube, Billy firsthand, but let's see how we do things here. So first of all, we have our rats. Unfortunately, this week we couldn't get our African soft furs, which is another kind of rat. It's actually said to be the natural prey for these animals. All we have today are the Norways. So let's take a look at what we've got. Our small Norways. We don't feed any of our animals mediums, just because the larger the rat, obviously, the more likely that rat could potentially cause some harm to the animal. Now, I'm going to fetch this. These are our rats that weren't eaten last week, either because we have male breeders who don't eat sometimes during breeder season, or we had a fickle female or two. This doesn't really happen a lot with our collection, but it does happen with ball pythons. So I'm going to start with the leftovers first. Now, how I like to do things changes as I learn new things. So there are a variety of issues that you can have. Is if you open a tub and the animal smells the rats, you might have a striker. So what I like to try to do, grab the rat first, gently. They can get a little anxious. Open the tub quickly and drop the rat in. And that's done already. I could hear that. Here we have an African soft fur. As you can see, they look more like gerbils. They are said to be the natural prey for these animals. The one thing is once you have an African soft fur eater, you're going to have a very difficult time getting them off African soft furs. I do this because some of the animals I purchased started on African soft furs, and it's very difficult to get them off. So we have this one African soft fur. Now, we will move on to the hatchlings, or the young ones. So I have a couple of young ones that are just moving up in size. They'll be moving over into these sub-adult tubs very soon. I usually keep them in these 6-quart tubs until they're about 500 grams or so, and then move them over. And I tend to correlate what they're eating, what size of prey they're eating, with that switch. So I go from hopper mice to rat pups, to a couple of rat pups to a small rat. In this case, I have 2 animals that are probably more than ready to have a small rat, or a wean-sized rat in between that.
Finish him! Fatality.
So this asphalt girl we purchased from a breeder a while back, she hadn't eaten for quite some time, and that's been quite a problem. Obviously, she hasn't eaten since March. The breeder wasn't very good at following up with me, miscommunicated and gave me the wrong information as to what they were feeding. He told me they were feeding Norways, which they weren't. They were feeding African soft-furred rats. This girl hadn't eaten in quite some time, since, like I said, since March. I've tried numerous things. As you can see, I have the tub taped off. I've tried different heat levels. I've tried all kinds of things. I've tried ASFs, mice, rats, all kinds of things. And sometimes you just gotta wait it out. My wife tried socializing her more and more and more. And over the course of, I'd say, a couple of weeks, was socializing her nearly every day. And then bingo bango. That feeding week, our asphalt female took an ASF. So we can't get ASFs this week. I'm going to try a rat pup with her and see if she'll take it. Fingers crossed. I have a feeling she won't, because once they get, the taste of ASFs, it's hard to get them off. But let's see what happens. So that's basically feeding day here at the heat pit. We got a few more, simply because we've got some females that I gotta put size on, so I'm gonna give them another round if they want. I know a lot of people say not to overfeed your balls. Yeah, that's a good point of advice. Don't overfeed them until they're overweight or until they look pudgy. The key that you want to look for is the shape of their back. If their back is rounded, that's not so good. You want a little bit of a point in their back. That's how you know that they're not overweight. In this case, though, if you have large females, like I have a few females that are 2,000 and 3,000 grams, that I'm not feeding mediums or larger prey, I'll feed them consecutively until they don't want to eat anymore. And so long as they're not overweight, I don't see a problem with that. Anyway, so that's been feeding day here at the heat pit. Thanks to my lovely wife, Kristen, for doing the camera shoot. And we look forward to doing another shoot in the near future. Thanks. See you later.